Our next awardee, Lewis Williams, is Executive Vice President and Chief Communications Officer for the Burrell Communications Group. He participated in the Upward Bound program at Mercer University. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. Thank you, Selection Committee. It's an honor to be here tonight. As you heard, my name is Lewis Williams, and I grew up about 80 miles down I-75 in a town called Macon, Georgia. But actually, right now, I'm from a distance much further than that. You see, I'm here visiting tonight from the year 1972. See, if you had thinking about it, this is my Back to the Future moment. Just a few seconds ago, I had an afro taller than a Georgia pine. I had cool sideburns, and I weighed $135 soaking wet. As you can see, a few things changed. But the year I graduated in 1972, one night in our senior year, my roommate, Bobby O'Neill, and I was talking. And after 3 years, we said, hey, this has been pretty cool. And both of us, as all of us, have been from some humble beginnings. And we knew that we was on a path to somewhere, but we didn't know what it was going to be. So that night, we said, let's close our eyes and imagine what that might be. So this is how it looked for me. After 2 years at Mercer University, I transferred to Kent State University to major in art and graphic design. It was my first time going way north, as we say here. I was called a country bumpkin, and instructors questioned whether or not I had the talent to compete in the very demanding program. Well, I did, and with honors. And even years later, I started a scholarship for kids who needed financial assistance. Now, after graduating from Kent State, I traveled to San Diego. The job search was tough. I was down to my last $78.26 when I interviewed with an ad agency. After a round of interviews, I got a chance to speak to the president. He looked at my resume. He said, you're from Macon, Georgia. I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, so am I. So my advertising career began. So from sunny, warm California, my young advertising career took me to the cold, windy city called Chicago to work at a place called Burrell Communications, which is a black advertising agency, where I had the opportunity to do creative work for such iconic brands like McDonald's, Ford, and Procter & Gamble. Now from there, my talents took me a few blocks down the street to work for another legendary ad agency called Leo Burnett. And then, you may know them. They've created some household icons like Tony the Tiger, Jolly Green Giant, Pillsbury Doughboy. Y'all know those people. So after there for 15 years, I left there as a senior vice president, executive creative director, where I worked on brands like the U.S. Army, Hallmark, McDonald's, and Allstate Insurance. And now it's full circle back to Burrell Communications, where I'm now executive vice president and chief creative officer, where I've created some pretty good commercials. And hopefully some of you have seen them. I've even had a couple on the Super Bowl. And last but not least, I find myself here in the year 2021, selected as a TRIO Achiever. Wow, such an honor to be honored by the program that did so much to me and others like me. So I had no idea what was ahead of me, but the journey wasn't always smooth. You know, my roommate, Bobby O'Neill, he passed away of AIDS in 1983. So one of us made it, but I hadn't forgotten about it in that night. So thanks to Upward Bound and mentors like Mr. Samuel Hart, Mr. Bobby Jones, and the bubbly Miss Taylor, who always made us say good morning, no matter what time of day it was. And last but not least, I'd be happy to tell my parents I did okay. See, my dad had a 4th grade education, and he had a job that he had to work outside in the elements. And after working one day, one brutally cold day, he came home. He was sitting at the dinner table. He looked at me and said, "Son, whatever you do, get a job inside." So when I get back from the future, I'm say, "Dad, Mom, guess what? I got a job, and it's inside." So I'm sorry, I have to go now. It's almost lights out. So see y'all in about 50 years.